The latest advance of the Night Elven host managed to regain some ground, making it all the way back to the mostly destroyed region around Suramar before reaching a deadlock with the demons. While the Burning Legion forces were relentless, the elves were far more familiar with the landscape, so it was all very even Steves. During this time, scouting parties were sent out to discover the exact extent of the demons' lines, with one such group consisting of Brox, Rhonin, Jarod Shadowsong, and a bunch of other people that no one cares about. Brox and Rhonin had volunteered themselves for this mission, with Lord Ravencrest making them pinky promise they would return at an appointed hour, and no later. Otherwise, the commander could not guarantee their safety, should he decide to order a quick strike based on reports from the other Outriders. And so, here we are, moving slowly across mist-shrouded territory, seeing bleakness and sheer desolation all around.
It's barbaric.
Brox just grunted in response. The elves may have been forced to harden themselves quickly in the face of butchery, but orcs had learned to accept it. Brox had grown up around brutality. The First War, the Second War, the Third War. Sure, he wasn't a complete sociopath, he still mourned the dead, but sights like these just no longer twisted his gut. Death was death, except when it isn't. Next to the orc, meanwhile, Rhonin quietly cursed to himself, attempting to use a scrying stone to survey the area for any hint of demons. But, thanks to the very ominous thick mist covering everything, he wasn't having much luck. But the orc had his own method of seeking out the enemy. Every few yards he sniffed, and so far, the only smells he'd noted were pungent corpsey smells. Probably nothing to worry about.
Stay spread out, but within sight,
ordered Shadowsong, looking ever so slightly tense atop his lightsaber.
Keep your beasts under control.
The huge panthers seemed particularly distressed by this whole situation, as if they knew something the riders did not, which certainly didn't help to improve everyone's current mood. And that was made even worse when the group discovered the outer edge of Suramar City. Or what was left of it, anyway.
By the Mother Moon.
Through the fallen gates they entered, utter silence surrounding them, and once inside they paused again. The path ahead now split into 3 directions. Safety and common sense would suggest that they stay together, but Lord Ravencrest's time limit made that option much less efficient, if they wished to inspect Suramar properly.
Nah, no one goes wandering off in this. There's magic in this mist. I don't care if we can't search everything, Captain. I'm inclined to agree. Never thought I'd be so distrusting of the place in which I grew up. This is no longer Suramar, Shadowsong. Remember that. Whatever the Burning Legion touches, it taints. Even if the city is empty of demons, it could still be very, very dangerous.
Brox nodded. He remembered all too well the things which had come out of the mist during his people's fight against the demons. What the Night Elves had battled so far paled in comparison. The group continued through the thick foul fog, with intact structures materializing every now and then through the murk. Captain Shadowsong ordering his soldiers to investigate the interiors, thinking anyone who might have survived the carnage might have taken refuge inside. However, not once did they find a living soul. And eventually, despite their intention to stay together, the devastation demanded otherwise of the group. The path ahead becoming too confused and covered in crap to allow the party to ride as one without losing way too much time. And so, with great reluctance, Jarod ordered 6 of his red shirts to head off in 2 groups of 3 down some side streets.
Go around the wreckage. Meet up with us as soon as your route allows, alright?
So they did, whilst Jarod, Brox, Rhonin and the remaining Who Cares moved forward. Emerging out the other side of the wreckage, more corpses lay scattered ahead, but, other than the grotesque wounds inflicted by their slayers, the victims were oddly untouched. No sign of decay or carrion visible.
These ones have to have perished in the initial destruction. They should look much worse. There's a foul enough sight for me already.
Panthers now moving very sheepishly, Jarod announced that they would soon reach a cross-section, which would allow them to regroup with the others. News which Rhonin was certainly glad to hear. And sure enough, a short distance after that, they arrived. And waited. And waited.
We, must have gotten ahead of them.
See? Here comes one party now. 3 soldiers then appeared, looking really quite pleased with themselves.
What'd you find? Nothing, Captain. More ruins. A lot of corpses. Damn it. Several of those you knew not among the refugees, Shadowsong. Far too many.
Jarod then eyed the opposite direction.
The others should be here at any moment.
Again, the group waited. And waited. And waited.
Any minute now.
'Twas Brox, who ended up not being able to wait any longer, making his way down the path with Rhonin and the others following shortly afterward. A peculiarity about the area struck the orc almost instantly. No bodies, no night elves, no demons, not even the likely corpses of the 3 missing soldiers or their mounts. How the bloody hell had this street remained completely unsullied, Brox thought. A slight shuffling noise then startled the orc, a figure slowly coalescing in the mist, the shape of a soldier, mouth hanging open for some reason, on foot with his weapon drawn.
Where's your mount?
The soldier continued to trot forward awkwardly, and as he stepped fully into view, Brox saw with dread that the soldier's face had been ripped open, the macabre figure raising his weapon as more marionette-like figures started to emerge behind him.
No.
Brox pulled hard on his mount's reins, turning the panther around, but as it moved, the cat swung one clawed paw at the approaching zombie, batting it away, something Jarod witnessed as he approached, glancing beyond the orc with eyes tight in shock and confusion.
What are you doing? Run!
The captain tried to argue further, but Rhonin then cut him off.
Look into the mist, Shadowsong. Look!
So he did, realizing that he too now wished to nope the hell out of there as quickly as possible.
Right! Back through the city gates! Follow me!
With Jarod leading, the party pulled away just before the ghoulish figures reached them, heading in a slightly different direction to the one in which they had initially come. However, as they rode, other walking dead began to appear from the ruins either side of them, swiping, lunging and biting as they passed. One of the poor nameless soldiers being pulled from his mount by a mass of clawing, tearing hands, his scream cutting off almost immediately as they all started to nom 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 on his brains, a sight which caused the captain to hesitate.
It's too late for him. Keep riding. I know what to do.
Rhonin halted, with Brox stopping beside him.
We can't leave you. Will only be a few moments, Shadowsong. Trust me.
Realizing that staying would risk more lives, Captain Shadowsong reluctantly did as he was told, soothing himself with the thought that of them all, Rhonin did probably have the best chance of survival. And as he and the Who Cares cheesed it, the human wizard turned toward his orcish companion.
Brox, I need a few seconds.
The orc rushed forward, slashing his new favourite axe back and forth with glee, chopping through torsos, necks and faces with every ounce of strength he could muster. As soon as he started to flag, however, Rhonin called out for him to pull back, and with him safely out of the way, the wizard then tossed a small vial at the encroaching horde. A vial which magically arced across the front row, splashing each of the undead with a liquid, which then burst into blue flame. An inferno, which quickly spread, mindless idiot corpses of the second row walking into it and igniting themselves, and so on and so forth. Rhonin, meanwhile, grinned with satisfaction.
Come on, let's go.
Unfortunately, a flaming zombie then rushed out of the inferno toward Brox's mount, causing the panther to be set ablaze, understandably panic, and cheese it. The orc atop it helplessly dragged off deeper into the ruined city, unable to calm his animal or put out the fire. In fact, Brox's attempt to smother the flames actually made things worse, the Nightsaber being forced to roll, sending Brox flying off its back in the process. The orc landing hard as the cat buggered off without so much as a soul's mate. Brox whirled, breathing heavily, expecting to be attacked from all sides by a horrific mob, but that didn't happen. No immediate danger. So, with wary eyes, he made his way back in the direction that he thought was the right one. Not completely certain, due to the fact that those last few paragraphs had been a little bit chaotic. As he grew more confused, the orc sniffed the air, catching no hint of either his human companion or the night elves. But he did catch a hint of something else. Something which caused his brow to furrow and urged him forward with newfound resolve. With his axe still firmly grasped, the orc then climbed over tangling roots and shattered homes, and soon enough reached the top of a ruined domicile. At which point, he saw them. 4 Felguard, 1 Doomguard, and more importantly, 2 Nathrazim. The Dreadlords stood taller than the other demons, their aspects much more terrible to behold. Vampiric in appearance and in nature, Brox knew from experience that the Nathrazim are extremely skilled in magic, whilst also being powerful fighters. Their dark spells in particular, though, were the immediate threat. Foul magics, like necromancy, for example. The thought of his own fallen comrades rising to join the enemy still filled the orc with rage, and thinking about Rhonin and the Night Elves being slain and forced to join the Legion made him even more furious. In fact, Brox could no longer contain himself, he was so bloody angry. With the loudest and most aggressive war cry you can possibly imagine, Brox charged, his shout echoing through the stillness and actually causing the demons to visibly flinch. The shock and surprise working in Brox's favour, and allowing the orc to cleave through several of the buggers with his favourite special axe very quickly. However, the remaining few demons, now very aware of Brox's presence, were not going to be quite so easy to take down. Whilst one of the Dreadlords continued their foul work, the other turned and pointed toward the orc, casting something nasty. In response, Brox threw himself behind a Doom Guard just in time, the Dreadlord's magical attack hitting them instead, causing the winged creature to shriek, twist, and then explode. Something then struck the orc from behind, knocking him off his feet, the last of the Felguard now looming over him. The fiendish Nathrazim coming up next to the monstrous warrior, and staring down at Brox through demonic, gleeful eyes.
You will fight well for us. Kill many of your friends.
No, I won't, you bastard!
Yelled Brox, knowing full well he was not going to be fast enough to beat both the Felguard's weapon and the Dreadlord's inevitable unholy spell. However, the other Dreadlord then suddenly out of nowhere burst into flames. A distraction. One which gave Brox the chance he needed to thrust his axe, decapitate the Nathrazim and strike down the Felguard.
Thought he might have needed a little diversion. Sorry if you, had it handled. A good warrior welcomes all allies, human. This one thanks you. Nah, I should thank you. You found the ones animating the dead. We can rest easy now. Good. You're wounded. Come on, jump up. The others should be waiting just outside the gates for us.
The orc decided not to argue, though it was usually shameful to show weakness in front of another. Brox didn't really give a shit. His legs were tired, so he went ahead and mounted the Nightsaber and allowed Rhonin to guide it.
So, they're starting to experiment, creating an army of the unliving. And this is probably not the only place they're doing it.
Brox grunted yet again. He knew exactly what the wizard was getting at. In their time, multiple realms had fallen to the undead. Quel'Thalas, Lordaeron. And now, in this far past, they had just come across the first inklings of the Scourge's creation. Despite this small victory, there was absolutely nothing they could do to prevent a horrifying part of the future. Meanwhile, in chapter 15 of the book, Illidan strode towards Lord Ravencrest, noting that the bearded noble looked none too pleased.
My lord? Sorcerer, I need you to prepare yourself and the others for departure as soon as possible. But Master Rhonin has but minutes ago returned and reported. What he informs me urges immediate action. We must crush the demons and take the capital as soon as possible. We shall be ready to ride then, my lord.
Illidan turned to depart, but Ravencrest shook his head.
That wasn't the only reason I summoned you, lad. I must tell you what the wizard discovered, keeping in mind this is for your ears only. Understand?
Illidan's chest then swelled with pride.
I will tell no one, lord. Not even the Moonguard. Not until I tell you to do so. Yes, lad. Hear what Master Rhonin discovered, and digest it well, if you can.
The Master of Blackrock then relayed what had happened at Suramar City, sparing no grisly details, and the sorcerer listened, at first in disbelief, and then in astonishment. He did not, however, react with dread or disgust, which would be the normal and expected response. Instead, Illidan was actually kind of impressed.
I didn't think such possible. What command they must have of their spell work. Yes,
returned Ravencrest, not at all noting Illidan's morbid fascination.
We now face a greater threat than even I believed. How abominable a thing to consider, even by them.
Illidan did not see it in that light whatsoever. The demons worked to create whatever their abilities allowed in order to achieve their ultimate goal. Such effort should be commended.
I wish we could capture one of the Eridar. Capture one? Don't be silly, lad. I expect them to be slain on sight, especially now.
Noticing his patron's slight look of concern, Malfurion's brother quickly corrected himself and nodded.
Of course, Lord. That remains our highest priority. I should hope so. That is all, sorcerer.
Illidan bowed and retreated, his mind awhirl with thoughts.
To raise the dead. What other fantastic feats can they perform? Why had the two wizards never hinted at such a power? Surely they can see the good sense in calling up battlefield casualties to use against the Burning Legion.
If only I could learn from them.
Yes, learn their strengths, add them to your own arsenal. Surely then, Duranda would see that you are the better choice.
Illidan then marched off back to his Moonguard. He had much thinking to do. Much thinking indeed, in someone else's voice. And as he left the screen, a horned and hooved figure appeared, leering yet again. Oh, so very pleased with himself. Everything was going perfectly. Not even Archimonde understood the full extent of the Satyr's plots. Yes, if all goes to plan, when the great Sargeras enters this world, it will be Xavius who stands as his right hand.